Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to wait for our Amazon stream to go live here. There we go. And it looks like we are live once more. Okay. Yes. We are up and running. So today's project is something I'm working on. It just came in last night. This is a little capture box, and I thought this would be of interest to people because it has a screen built in, and it can record onto its own SD card, so you don't need a computer with this. But like everything, I am sure there is a catch. So this will do 4K at up to 30 frames per second. And it won't do 60 4K, but it'll do 1080 at 4K, or at least they claim as much. And we will see for ourselves in a little bit. And we'll hook up my gaming laptop to it. I've got an old VCR too, because the other thing it does is it will let you record off of like old standard definition sources with composite video. So you could conceivably plug in a game console or something like that too. So all sorts of cool stuff to try out. And we've got some folks to say hello to, I think. Let's take a look here. We got Dave, Dava. I always get, I need to get my eyes checked. I always read it as Dave when it's actually Dava. Anthony Gwynn is here. Billy Boy is here. Romeric is here. Let me say hello to everybody. Chanflay98 is here. Heffen Davies is definitely early. Yeah, it's still in the box. Kevin is joining us from Florida. Hopefully the weather is getting better there. Andy G is here. And yes, this might be good for VCR conversions. We will see. I have an old VCR and a couple of tapes over there, so we'll take a look and see how it does. And let's take it out of the box. I did open the box up earlier just to get a feel for what I needed to do our stream today. And then I'm going to have a review of this on my main channel later in the week, maybe like Wednesday or Thursday. So that's the unit. And then also in the box is a remote control, some composite cables. There's a USB cable, because what this thing will do is not only act as a recorder, a power cord there, it will not only record, it will also allow you to stream as like a capture device. So it's like a little HD 60 kind of thing. What is this? This is a, wow, it's only like a it's a 5-volt 2-amp. So it needs 2 amps of USB power. That doesn't surprise me. And let me go find the manual, because I thought I just saw it. I know I had it in the box still. The manual, let me go get the manual real quick. The manual is kind of funny, because what they tell you is that it doesn't work with copyrighted sources, so don't return it. And it's like all over the product page also. They're like just constantly bringing up this issue of there not being support for copyrighted HDCP sources. So if you plugged in your Blu-ray player to this directly, it would not work. What's funny though is, let me show you they actually say to you when you open this up, go to page, look at this, before recording, please see page 6 of the manual, okay? And then you get this thing, it's like the warning label. It's going to tell you it's telling you all about the fact that you can't get this to work with copyrighted sources. And then they give you a link to 2 boxes that get rid of the copy protection. So, I mean, how more direct can you be? And I'm guessing that people have been buying these things for nefarious purposes, because, like, I mean, seriously, like, there's this label here, it's in the manual, it's on the box, it's like in one of the primary bullets of the product page is, do not, it won't work, just don't try it. Like, I'm like, really? So, and then they put a link to where you can find, I'm guessing they must have had a lot of problems with people returning these things. All right, now this is interesting. it must have a battery inside because it's already turning itself on. And I don't even know what whoa, it's loud. I don't even know what oh, there's a power button here. I must have hit that. So now that begs the question, what's the battery life on this? I didn't even know it had a battery in it. So that's pretty cool. How long can it record for? So we'll have to see. T. Cunningham on Amazon, here on Amazon for the first time, longtime YouTube viewer, welcome. Yeah, let me know what you think of this versus YouTube. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that a little later. And Fancy You Fits One is here on Amazon as well. And then we've got some more folks who popped in on the other thing here. Recipe Bob is here. I wish I could put the Amazon comments up like this. Andy G says, VCR to 4K. My suspicion is it'll record at 480p, but we'll find out. We're going to plug one in a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Heffen wants to know, will it plug and play with OBS? Yes, it will work with OBS. I would not say at the moment that the Mac M1 is good for OBS, because I think it's still running as an Intel emulation thing. But yeah, apparently this will work as just a straight up recorder device. Eduardo was here from Brazil. Hello. And some funny things with the manual there. E.C. Myers is here. Yeah, new toy. I saw this, in full disclosure, came in through the Amazon Vine program free of charge, but I didn't have any contact with the manufacturer. Then we have some stuff here on the front. So this is, oh, it's got a tripod mount here too. So you could get one of those little tripod to shoe mount things and just stick it on top of your camera too. So it's got some neat flexibility. Although I think there's a couple of limitations with this insofar as the storage is concerned. So I guess it's limited to, it's already like down to 97. It started at 100 just a minute ago. It will only accept a 128 gigabyte card max. So it won't go up to anything beyond that. So even if you have like a hard drive plugged in, apparently 128 gigabytes is it. So I suspect it's going to compress the you-know-what out of the video. Let's see what we've got for settings on here. So you can set your video source here. Oh, this is interesting. So here, let me just select HDMI to start. It defaults to HEVC. You see that? H.265. That is intriguing. That's another neat thing to look at. And you can set, now another interesting thing. So is it upscaling to 4K 30 on a 1080p source? We're going to find that out too. And we have it on the SD card right now. And then the USB, I think we're going to go into PC streaming mode. So I'm curious to see what, if we can do that simultaneously. But it is not letting me switch into that mode unless I have a device attached, so we'll have to come back to that. All right, so we got 83 gigabytes on the card free. This is a 128 gigabyte card. It looks like the screen is going to stay on for the duration here. All right, so now it's down to 95%. I have a feeling the battery is not going to be the strong suit here. Benjamin is joining us on Amazon. Hello there. And got it, Heffen. Sorry about that. Yeah, but the Mac M1 is great. In fact, I just clicked you up with my Mac M1. It just comes through there. Andy G wants to know, is it heavy? No, in fact, it is plastic. So I would not, and I'm hitting this power button constantly. I would not rely on this as a rugged device for field work because it feels like it's pretty fragile. I mean, there's no moving parts in it, but it's not like something you get from Blackmagic that's like super rough and tumble, right? All right, so first experiment is the gaming computer. So let's get that. Utso wants to know, if possible, can we test to see if it interrupts with the, so I guess, would you say, Utso, like with a resolution change or like pulling the cable out? Let me know what you think there. And then the remote control that it comes with, has no battery in it, so I got to go find some AAA batteries real quick. I know I've got some because I just took some out of something else. Does this one have it? No, it's the CR2032. So let me go grab some batteries, and let me get my gaming laptop over in place here. And I guess we'll start like at the top and do the 4K, right? And see how it does with that. But I'm surprised to see that it supports HEVC. Usually these things are H.264 and that's it, right? So that's intriguing. We'll see what the quality looks like, and then whether or not it can handle the load. And I'm really curious as to what the battery life is going to be with this. So we'll have to see what goes on there. So I've got my trusty gaming laptop that I'm going to set off to the side here. So I also have a 4K monitor. And I suspect, because the gaming laptop doesn't have a 4K display, it's just 1080p. So I'm going to have to output the gaming laptop. I guess I could probably put it on the side of the table here. Well, let's get it booted up first. So let's get all this going. And I think what I'll do is I'll run Rocket League, because that's a game that this laptop can run at 4K at 30 frames per second, so we shouldn't have too many issues there. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. And these questions are helpful too, everybody, so I can figure out what we need to do. I would say, just from what I'm reading on the Amazon reviews, that it's probably not something I'm going to recommend for professional use, because it seems like there are some conditions when it will stop recording. And I think it limits the file size to 32 gigabytes a shot. And then the other thing I'm noticing is that the battery, since we just turned it on oops, see, there I go again. This power button is like a hairpin. So let me add that to my gotchas list here. The other thing I'm noticing is that the battery life is already dropped 10% since we turned it on about 10 minutes ago. It's like a percent a minute, and it hasn't even started recording yet. So let's see how well it holds up there. Okay, so we've got that going. Let me get the computer a little closer to me here. I'm going to just turn it on real quick. And we're going to plug in. What we're going to do is we're going to loop into this and then loop out, because it does have, as you can see on the top, an HDMI input and an output. So we're going to go in and then back out to the monitor. So let me get that connected here real quick. We'll log into my laptop. And I have not used this in a while, so it may need to update some stuff. Let me find my Ethernet cable too, in case we have to download anything. So we'll pop that in. Okay, so that's connected. And you know what's funny about these little devices is that they often take a lot of time to review, because there's a lot of little features and intricacies that you have to kind of test for. So we'll be getting through all of that. My tech guy Tim wants to know, let me put this up on screen here. And by the way, thank you live from New York City for the kind comment there. Can I watch live streams from the Amazon app, or is it only available from the browser? Yeah, you can watch it on the app also. I don't know exactly where in the app it shows up, but if you follow me there, you'll get a notification, and when you click on the notification, it pulls it up on the phone. David wants to know, does it do full-length recordings, or does it chop it up? Yeah, I think that's the issue, is I think it does chop it up, although it looks like it'll do 32 gigabytes at a time. So it'll chop it up, but I think you have to go for a while. And the question is, I don't see any bitrate settings in there, so what I'm not sure about, let me just loop this through here. What I'm not sure about is how big those files will be based on, and I'm just eager to see what that battery indicator is going to do. So I don't know like how long those files will be, because it seems like it's file size based and not length that determines it. All right, so now we're attaching the computer, and we saw it show up briefly. Let's see what we get. Okay, there we go. So now we've got kind of the image here. This is not a touch screen, so I can't interact with the computer at all, but we do have an image up on screen. And what I'm going to do now is turn the monitor on here, and I want to make sure that it's looping back out. So let's go to HDMI 1, which I think we're outputting on. Let's see if it loops it back out. HDMI 2 is the one I'm on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there we go. Now what I'm noticing is that when the monitor came up, so you don't get the display when you've got a monitor connected. So now I've got this, which is not ideal because if you're doing gameplay capture, you're going to want the actual image without any of this stuff on here, because no doubt this is going to introduce some input lag here, isn't it? All right, let's go up to, oops. Let's go up to, yeah, it feels a little laggy. So this is not going to be like a straight up pass-through, especially because it's sending all this other stuff into there. Okay, so let's keep changes. All right, so now we see that it is getting 4K. So I mean, at least you can monitor it this way, and it looks fine, but you got this stuff on the top of the screen. Can you get rid of that, I guess is the question. It's like, whoops, I see now I did it again. I keep hitting the power button. All right, let's pull it back up on one more time. Oh, so now it's in playback mode. Okay, so that's what that button does. So you don't get the display when you're looping HDMI out. And I'm just waiting for it to catch back up again. Lou Bear wants to know, what's the max size? 128 gigabytes is the max. That's another issue. Although it does record in H.265, so, HEVC, so you could probably squeeze out a pretty good video size there. All right, why can't I get back to what I was on before? Must have hit another button here. Let's see. It's on playback. I don't want it on playback. I want it on recording. There we go. Oh, shoot. Okay, that button is what switches between playback and the other thing. And I don't have a lot of confidence for the battery life here, so we'll see how it does. All right, I'm just going to switch this back to 1080p. I just want to see what happens when I do that. So if I go back to 1080, okay, so I don't know if I'm actually delivering a 4K image or not. So why don't we do only on 2, which is this one. So it looks like it's upscaling to 4K all the time. Let me just make sure this is at 4K. Bear with me, folks. I'm just trying to figure this out here. So it's set at 1080, but it says 4K. So I think that this is just upscaling it. And now we should be at real 4K. And I'm just going to do a 200% scale. It's switching modes too quickly for it to feel like it's at a true 4K. So I don't know what's going on here. Let me just double check one more thing. Okay, so it says that we're there. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my keyboard thingy here. Oh, what happened? So now it just went blank for an unknown reason. And by the way, the battery now is at 85%, and we haven't even started recording yet. And everything is blank on the screen here. Let me just do a quick little... All right, It just doesn't look like it's running at a real 4K right now, because it isn't. It's at 1080 again. Let's go back to 4K. All right, keep settings. All right, let's try to load up Rocket League here real quick. I'm just controlling it from down here. I have to log into my Steam account. Yeah, so it looks like you can't get rid of this no matter what you want to do. And the battery life I am not impressed with, because it's gone down a lot since we just turned it on 20 minutes ago. All right, so let's see what we have loaded on this thing. So I don't have Rocket League on here. Let me just grab Rocket League real quick, because that's when I know I can run at 4K without any real problems. Oh, great. Hang on, let me get my disk out here. I've got it on here, I think, so let me just do that real quick, and we'll get that going. I'll tell you one thing about these gaming laptops is they certainly know how to make a lot of noise with their fans running constantly. Okay. Yeah, we should have some games on there. Now I'm hearing a lot of clicking coming out of the speaker there. You never know with this stuff. Sometimes like these are real like hidden gem kind of things, and other times not so much. So we will find out for sure in a second. I just got to wait for something to finish downloading here real quick, and then we can give this a go. I just want to find something that I can just have looping at a certain frame rate. And it looks like there's buttons on here that are kind of important. So let me plug in, this is the remote control that it comes with. So let's plug this in real quick. And Juan Salazar says, so far, very, very promising product, sarcasm. Yeah, it's going to be something, I think it's going to be something that I would probably be more enthusiastic about at a lower price. But let's see. Yeah, so you just have a choice here between 4K 30 and 1080p 60, but nothing in between. So I'm guessing it's probably up converting. And what's this mode button do? Oh, it's playback mode, and then so that mirrors this one here. And then there's a schedule button, which doesn't seem to do anything. It just kind of jumps me back into the playback screen. That's weird. Okay, so that doesn't do anything. I can take a snapshot. So it just took a screenshot, which I must have just saved to the card. All right, and this is like volume, and it's got a microphone on it or something, so that might be something to check also. Patrick Chang said, could you use it as a monitor? Yeah, you could actually. The screen is honestly not much bigger. I'll give you the overhead here. The screen, and it's off right now because we have it going out to the monitor, but the screen is not much bigger than what you would have on a camera, right? I mean, it feels a lot like that kind of screen. So I am doubting the utility of this as a monitor. I think you could probably spend the same money and get something bigger and more useful. All right, so let's go over to, so Rocket League is on here. Perfect. Let's load that up real quick. And we'll see what happens. We gotta just download some updates apparently. Not a problem on my connection because we are super fast here. So let's get that downloaded real quick. Mark Dell says you could put the switch in a dock. Yeah, you could do that. I think the big problem I have is that it doesn't get rid of this stuff on the top. Like there's no way to get rid of the stuff that's just kind of filling up the screen. And yeah, this is like a pass-through recording box. So its value, they say, is that it can record without the computer. So that's what we're kind of testing out here. And we'll do that in a minute. Let's wait for that to finish updating, and then we can check this out for sure. Okay. So Mark says that Amazon is only 2 seconds ahead of YouTube today. I think, I've been using YouTube on the lower latency thing lately, so I think that it might have improved the latency slightly. Amir Robinson has joined us on Amazon. And BB Garnett says it's snowing in Minnesota. Seems to do that a lot over there, doesn't it? And Patrick Chang said hello a little bit earlier. And my tech guy, Tim, is here. OC, my brain wants... Yeah, I'll try to do the lag testing. I am not optimistic just because it doesn't feel that bad. But because it's overlaying this, I'm sure that it's got to do something to overlay that. And I'm guessing that's going to introduce some lag on that. Ooh. It's like clicking. All right, so now it just went to 1080. And I think what's happening here is that, yeah, so it's putting it on the wrong display. So let me quit this real quick. I got to have it only display on the other screen here, so let's do that real quick. Only display on 2. Okay. And hopefully that will come back up. Now I got nothing. Now we got nothing again. What is going on with this thing? I guess it's not shifting modes. So let me pull the cable out and try it again here. All right, so now it's back to 4K. There we go. Okay, so now I only want to show this on 2. Keep. Okay. All right, so we are getting 4K in now, like a real 4K. And let's try this again. I should probably hook up my... All right, so let's load that up. And I'm also going to turn the volume down, because I don't know if this is copyrighted music that they... And by the way, this controller is messed up because I'm turning the volume down and it just took a screenshot, which I didn't ask it to do. And it seems like it's got a hard time when it's doing all the shifting stuff. And now it's just putting this in a small window up here. So why is it doing that? All right, so let's go to settings. I'm guessing because it is at 1080. Yes, it is. So let's go to 4K and apply that. There we go. And what I also need to do, I forgot to load up Fraps. So let me just do I'll do the Steam one. I just want to make sure that I'm pushing at least 30 frames per second. Because it's not, it won't do 60, it'll just do 30. And that's what we're set at the moment here. So let's bump out of there. Okay, so yep, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to have, shoot, I have tapped a click on here. And this is my biggest complaint is that with this thing up here, I can't see stuff at the top of the screen. So now this won't show up on the recording. but it will show, of course, right now. All right, so let's do a training session. And I think I can have it kind of just do a computer versus computer thing. If not, I can connect my controller to it, I guess. And let me start recording here. We're still using the battery, by the way. So, all right, so now it's recording. And what I want to do here is just make sure we don't get any drop frames at 4K. It's really kind of what I'm after. So we'll let this record. We'll do like about a minute or so and see what we get. And we're getting a little screen tearing, and that's just because this is running at 60 frames per second, and we're only at 30 on the 4K display here. So now what we're recording at is HEVC. So let's see what we get here. I'm just going to run the car back and forth just because I don't have my controller hooked up. And it would be easier just to get a feel for this. So we'll let this go for another couple of seconds here. And Utsu wants to know, can it record? So yeah, we'll try that in a minute. We'll see if we have a resolution change, or if I unplug the cable, what happens. And we'll just kind of let this run through a little bit. You know, just to give it a little test. And right now I'm recording HEVC, which is more efficient. So we would get better image quality for the bit rate. And I'm guessing it must have some HEVC recording hardware built in. And BB Garnett wants to know, what's so high-end about the video codec? Well, I think the difference is that for a lower bit rate, you know, it's a more efficient compression. So for the same bit rate, you'll get a better quality image. And it's good for 4K in particular. The challenge you run into with it, though, is that not every computer is optimized to play HEVC video. So a lot of the newer ones are. But you know, you will run into older PCs that really struggle to play this kind of content back in hardware. But you know, if you run into trouble, just switch to H.264. But I think if you are doing 4K, I would probably recommend that you run it on HEVC just to get the best quality out of it. All right, so I just finished recording. Oops, so I pushed record again, but it's still running there. So let me stop it. Okay, so that is stopping. So now we've got a file, presumably on the SD card that we put in there. And then we'll run that test where we hit record again. The remote is really bad. Like, I don't even know where to point it. Okay, there it goes. So now it's recording again. And you know what I'm going to do? Instead of pulling out the source, I'm going to pull out the monitor and see if it continues recording here. And it appears that it hasn't interrupted recording, but we'll know for sure when we play the file back in a minute. Okay, so that's back up on the monitor. And I'm just going to pull this out for a second and then pull it back in. Yeah, it stopped. So if you have an interruption, it's just going to stop. So that'll answer that question. That's actually a great question to include on my list of things. We'll stop recording when input is interrupted. And this doesn't feel like the Blackmagic gear. Like, this is definitely not a piece of professional gear we're playing with. Now, you saw what that did to the battery. So it's down to 76% now. So I would venture to say that you won't get that much battery life out of it. I would say maybe half hour. We'll have to play around a little bit more with it, but not great. Well, we'll keep running it in battery mode until it conks out on us completely. All right, so we now have some footage that I can play back. So let me go get a card reader and we'll take a look at it real quick. So I think the best thing to do would be to shut it down. And we still have to test. We still have to test our 1080p 60 video, which we'll do in a minute. Okay, so that's now off. Okay, so let me get a card reader, and we'll take a look and see how this does. Bear with me for 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. I forgot to grab my card reader when I was setting up for the stream today. Okay, got our card reader. And I should add the card that I'm using. So I would suggest, like when you're doing this, let me add this to the product carousel on Amazon real quick. I like the SanDisk Extreme cards. I think those work really well for this kind of situation, because you want something that's going to write reliably. And it's hard to see, but this one is rated at V30, which means that it can write. It's guaranteed to write at up to 30 megabytes per second. Now, nobody holds them to this. So this is kind of like, you have to trust the big brands. And SanDisk and Samsung, you know, those, the higher end brand name cards are the ones that I would trust for this kind of thing. So I'm going to add a couple of cards that I think would work well with this to the carousel. And I should also add the card reader that I'm using. Let me just find it on here. Yep, there it is. Okay. Now you can also record on the USB port on this, but I think it's more convenient to use a card. And you know, the cards are better suited, I think, for recording. They're designed for that. A lot of the USB sticks out there are not. And because it only takes 128 gigabytes, a hard drive which would do well at recording is probably going to be too big. Like, where can you find a 128 gigabyte external hard drive these days? I guess you could probably get one of those. Yeah, even like the low-end SSDs now are not in that ballpark, are they? All right, why isn't this reading here? So I got that plugged in. I think that my dock here died again. The one thing I have discovered with Thunderbolt docks is that you've got to like constantly reboot them. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let me see what we've got here from Michael Kidd is blown away by the realism and the physics. Yeah. Cleeso wants to know, why don't we use the recorder to play back the video? I will, however, I want to see, the reason why I'm shifting to the computer right now is because I want to see the file on the computer, so that the computer is going to play it back better, first of all. And I think most people that buy this will be buying it with the intention of having video that they can edit and play back elsewhere. So that's why we're doing it on the computer. But we'll test the playback too, if that's something people find of interest. Hang on 1 second, let me just get this booted. And also what I want to do is check the bit rate of the video that it gives us too. So let me just clean my screen up here a little bit. By the way, I'm getting my final shot on Thursday. I'm excited. Okay, so we are going to, let me just look up my computer here. I'll show it to you also when I've got it loaded up. All right, where did it put the file? Oh, here it is, video. Okay. Uh-oh. All right, so this is the, let me show you what it gave me here. Let me just get my thing on Do Not Disturb, so people don't text me in the middle of my, okay, so let me show you. So this is the screenshot that it takes. It's like super tiny. And so it looks like this is, it's like 81K. Let me pull it up on my thing here and just get the inspector loaded. Yeah, so it took so the screenshots that it takes are just like 640 by 360. So these are not going to be very useful. I mean, it's good for a thumbnail image, but nothing more than that. All right, so now we've got two files on here. I've got to set the date because it's obviously not March 12th. And this is the longer of the two. So let's load this one up first. And it looks like, yeah, so it's, just to give you a sense as to the quality here, it is definitely 4K, and it's definitely HEVC. It's recording at 44 hertz, 44 kilohertz here or whatever, but not 48. And the data rate, you know, for HEVC, this isn't bad. It's 30 megabits per second. And that's, I would be interested to see what it records on the other. But let's take a look here and see. Ooh, wait a minute. That didn't look like it. Here, let me show you what I'm seeing here. So it kind of stuttered at the beginning, so it had a drop frame at the outset. Now remember, we're going to see, we will see some screen tearing, so maybe on another recording I'll turn VSync on. But what I'm looking for now is just to see if we have any stuttering frames or anything dropping off. And I'm transmitting this back to you over NDI, so you might see a little drop frame, so I will let you know if I see something dropping. And also, I'm only broadcasting at 30, and this is playing. Actually, this should be 30 also, because that's what it recorded at. Yeah, it looks okay to me as far as frame drops are concerned. It doesn't look like it's got any issues so far. So it looks like it did a pretty good recording. You know, we got to dive into the quality and stuff. And what I'll do is I'll put these on the extras channel so that you can see, you know, when we finish the video, you can see what the quality is for something like this. But, you know, without a computer, you can get a nice 4K, you know, if you had a camera hooked up or something, it probably would do okay. But yeah, I'm not seeing any frames dropping. It's playing back smoothly. You know, and again, the tearing that you see is because we were over 30. It was doing 60 even though we were recording at 30. So I think what I'll do is we'll run it again in a little while, and I'll record it with VSync on so it stays at 30. But yeah, I'm not seeing any drop frames or anything, so it looks okay to me. I mean, like anything, you get what you pay for. So, you know, if you're really serious about doing this, you're going to probably want to have something more robust. But in a pinch here, it seems like it recorded pretty well. Now, what I'm interested in next here is, remember, we had pulled out the monitor, and we switched from the internal display to the external and back again, or vice versa. So let's see now on this file if we had any issues with that. Hold up. You know what? It's burning in. Is that on the other one also? Let's see. All right, so the good news is it was able to record without dropping any frames. But what I'm noticing right now, yeah, see, it's burning the time and date into the lower right-hand corner. Do you see it down there? So that's a problem. So we have to dig into that. Let me pull up your questions again. So we got a little bit more work to do here is figure out why it's doing that. And that looks like by default. Let's see. Yes, that should be configurable from the menu, of course. So let's go turn it back on again here. And we are still plugged into everything. I wonder if the battery just died. Oh, actually, I shut it off. I shut it down completely. So let's boot it back up. Okay, so now it's coming back up. And let's see if we can figure out that that battery burn-in thing, or the date and time burn-in. And there we go. Okay. So now, boom. Okay, so we've got 4K in. What we need to do now is go back into the menu. Oh, here's the date and time. Oh, so right there it is. The time watermark is currently set to on, so we want to set that to off. So we need to make that a note in my notes here about that. And I'm going to load that game back up again because this time I want to record it we need to do two more recordings. We need to record it running at this resolution with the 30 frames per second VSync, and I also want to run a second recording with H.264 just to see what the quality is like on that. So, and we'll run the same game on both just to get a feel for that. All right, so we're good there. And then again, you only have a choice between 4K 30. All right, so let's back out of the menu here. All right, so let's go back into the game, and I'm going to plug this controller in. Okay. Boy, it didn't like that, did it? Everything really seems to upset the flow of this. And we're going to go back in here. And this time what I'm going to do, and I need to also get that SD card reinserted, so let's do that too. So we'll pull this out. I tell you though, I think it's amazing that you can fit a terabyte. This is not a terabyte card, but you can fit a terabyte on something so small, or more. Are they going bigger now than that? And it's also hard to get the card in here. Okay, there we go. So the card is reinserted, and we should see that change. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to hit record on the unit itself this time and see what we get. All right, so that's recording. I do want to stop it because I forgot to change some of the settings here. So let's go to settings. And the video, I'm going to turn VSync on. Normally we don't turn that on because we want it to run at the full frame rate. But in this case, we're trying to constrain it to 30 frames per second. So I'm going to hit record again. There it goes. Yeah, it's definitely introducing input latency to this. So this is something that you're going to want to, I don't know, run through a splitter. You're probably going to want to do something to prevent the latency. It's not, I mean, it's not unplayable, but if you're somebody that's very sensitive to latency, I think you're going to want to definitely engage with that. And I'm just going to kind of repeat what we did before, just get some real fast motion going here, because I want to demonstrate that. We're not looking at the computer's performance here, we're looking at the ability of the recorder to maintain a consistent image here. But it looks like the file sizes are pretty reasonable. I think what I'm probably going to do with this is test out that 32 gigabyte file limit also. So I might just set it to record, for a duration and see what happens. We're still on the battery, by the way, so I'm not sure how long that'll last for. We'll get like 2 minutes of footage here, and then we'll switch it over to the other recording mode. So I'm just eager to see what bit rate it records at in H.264. So right now this is 30 megabits per second HEVC. You have no control over the bit rate or anything. It's locked in. And I'm guessing if there is some I/O limitation, having the HEVC option is pretty good. I'm not sure what the trade-off is, but I know that 30 megabits per second HEVC is not bad. But H.264 at 30 megabits per second 4K is when you start to really introduce a lot of compression artifacts and stuff. 1080 is a little more forgiving. All right, so we'll stop recording here. And it does take it a minute to respond to that request, doesn't it? You have to hold it down. There it goes. No, now it's doing a screenshot. Okay, there it goes. And I think you need to wait for it to shut down. Okay. So now, yeah, thanks everybody noting that. Yeah, I missed that time and date thing, but it's definitely, so it's up on here, but if we go into the menu, it's definitely turned off, isn't it? Yeah, time watermark is off, so we should be good there. I will set the date and time, though, to the right one, because it was in, like, last year. So this is April 13th, Tuesday the 13th. Is that bad luck, or are we okay? The remote is terrible, by the way. What time is it? It is 2:14. Does it do military time? Yes, 14:46. So now the time will be set properly, so everyone who's concerned about the time being wrong will be okay. Okay. I'm not going to go down to the second here because it's all good. Okay, there you go. Everybody happy now? Okay. So now, let's go into the settings. Actually, I'm going to leave the settings where they are. What we're going to do is go in here, and we're going to turn this down. We're going to turn it off, turn it over to H.264. So we're going to change the recording codec to H.264. And I suspect when we play this back a little later that it will not look as good. Okay, now it's starting the recording. So now we're recording at H.264. And again, we've got VSync locked, so we're holding steady at 30 frames per second, which is where we want to be, so we don't get any screen tearing. And we'll kind of let this run. And I think for the 1080p thing, we'll run something else so that there's a little bit of a variation in I mean, you know, it's doing better than I thought it would do on the recording stuff. We'll see how these files come out, but yeah, I have no reason to think that it wouldn't have any issues, right? And it looks like the battery has stabilized, so I wonder if it wasn't fully charged and maybe the meter wasn't totally on track, because it feels like the battery reduction is not what it was a little bit earlier. So let's see what happens here. Let's let this go for another 30 seconds, just because I want to get that footage on there. And we'll kind of let that play out. All right. I'm good with that, so we'll hit the record button, and it'll stop. There's a funny comment from Michael Kidd here. There are two hard things in computer science: cache invalidation, naming things, and off by one errors. That is true. All right, let's go so check my YouTube live stream, make sure everything's working good here. Okay, so now I think what I want to do next is experiment with the 1080p settings, and then we'll hook the VCR up and do some super retro stuff. So let's quit this. And let's go over to here. What we're going to do now is we'll switch it into 1080p 60. And then when we're done with that, then we'll hook up the old stuff. So now we're going to go 1080p. Now this will go 60. and it still thinks it's at 4K, which is interesting. So let me just go into the advanced display settings here. Oh, I see. So yeah, it's not doing what I thought it was going to do here. It's forcing it to go to 4K. So I wonder if I have to change the recording mode. So I'm going to go back to H.265 for the 1080p test. And we're going to go to the recording resolution here and switch it to 1080p 60. And I bet you that's going to force a whatever. Let's see. Yeah, all right, we need to force this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and, because we saw it do it before. It's just the computer here doesn't want to switch into that mode. Let me go into the NVIDIA control panel and see if I have to do something separate here. That's weird. So now it's actually running at a, let me apply that. It was set to like 24p for some reason. Let's see if that, there it goes. Okay, now we're at 1080. Oh, it just went back to 4K. Yep, what's it doing? I'm not sure if this is a laptop problem or like a failure to communicate problem. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mirror the display this time as opposed to this thing. That might cooperate better. Now it's back to 1080. Yeah, it doesn't like switching modes here, does it? All right, let's disconnect this for a second. That was the other thing. Remember we found that earlier? It was like, it just didn't like to play nice with others. Okay, so let me plug it back in. So now we got 1080 up here again. Yeah, it doesn't do well with switching modes here. And I think what's happening right now is that we had set it to go all right, bear with me, folks. All right, let me just force it to cooperate. Display settings. And we're going to have this show on both. So we're going to mirror both displays. And then we're going to force 1080p, and that should. There we go. Now I think what's happening is, there it goes. Okay, so now it's, but see, it's still showing it at 4K. Why is that? I may have to hook this up to something different. I think it's upscaling, but we don't want it to do that. We want it to be running. We're going to have to figure this out. Mark Dell wants to know, what are we going to be watching? I found an old tape from high school that we're going to plug in. So I figured if we're going to go old, we're going to go super old. So we're going to try that out and see what we get. All right, so this is, oh, I think what's happening here is I've got G-Sync. Do I have G-Sync turned on? I don't think I do. Yeah, it's off right now. Yeah, G-Sync is off. And what's happening here is that it's forcing, it's stuck at see if I can force it down on another mode here. It's like it's stuck at the 100. So the display I have on the laptop is 144 hertz. And for whatever reason, it's just sticking at 4K when it's sending video out to this thing, but I want it to be running at you know what I might do? I might go get the Nintendo Switch upstairs and just plug that in, because that'll be a lot easier to deal with than this right now. Let's go back to advanced display settings. Okay, no, yeah, so it must be up converting. Yeah, this is something related to the gaming laptop. Let me turn off. So it looks like the NVIDIA GPU is doing some conversion here. And I think that's what's causing this to do what it's doing. Yeah, so I'm going to go hook up something else for that instead. So we'll get to that in a minute. So why don't we do the VCR, and then I'll grab the game console in a little bit. All right, so we're going to turn. I think I'll leave the monitor on the display on the thing here. And let me get some cables out. So it actually came with, it came with two versions of the same cable. Maybe in case you lose one. One's a little bit longer than the other, but they're otherwise the same. Now this won't work with, I would not recommend this as like an ultimate solution for retro gaming, because one is the input lag that you're likely going to experience. The other is that it only supports composite. So that is undoubtedly going to create some complexities. But it turns out I keep this VCR around for special occasions. So let's go old school. We've got ourselves a 4K monitor and a good old VCR. So let's plug it in. And if you don't like a blinking clock, you're not going to like me right now, because it's just going to be blinking here. I think this one was one of the more advanced models, and it would, yeah, it's blinking auto. It actually, if you had it plugged into TV, into cable TV, it would actually set itself automatically. So it did have that capability. Now, if I'm not mistaken, oh, this is a stereo VCR. Perfect. So we can plug in. It's going to go line out. Yeah, line out is over there. So we're going to plug in these cables here. This is actually a pretty good VCR. I don't think you can buy these things anywhere anymore, can you? I had, it's funny, I had a pretty nice VCR in college that I was using to record shows. And it worked. I had a tape that I would use and just kind of keep overwriting, and that was it. Now this is a tape from high school, career day 1994. So let's see what we get here. Now, I don't know what's on this, and actually I've got to switch over. Where'd the controller go? We have to switch this into the right mode. So we have to go video source, AV. And let's see what we get here. Okay, so there we go. And let's close the menu out. Okay, that's encouraging. So it looks like it's going to do 480p. And I'm actually curious, is it still doing H.265? Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, so I'm going to hit play. I don't know what's on this. Look, there's nothing inappropriate on my VHS tapes, okay? But I just don't know what's on this. So let's see what we get. It looks like it's having a hard time playing the tape. Let's see. I should see something on screen here, but I don't. I have another tape here in case this one doesn't work. Let's see. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be kind of bummed out, because I think this tape might be stuck. So it looks a little ratty. Yeah, it looks like it's not moving. Let's try it again. if I can get it to unstick. We'll just do a full rewind. There it goes. Ooh. Yeah, it's not sounding good. I think the tape is stuck. I've got another tape here we can try that with. Let's see. Yeah, I noticed, you know, a lot of these tapes got like, had some stuff growing on them. Let's see if I can fast forward here. That sounds better. Now it sounds like something's moving. This had one of those super fast motors for rewinding and playing back video. This is actually a pretty good VCR. All right, so it looks like we got nothing. Let me try this other tape and see if this one might work better. If not, I've got something else I can hook up to it, so we will be okay. Let's try this real quick. Yeah, Mark Dell says, my old WrestleMania bootlegs. You know, it's funny, one of my college roommates, his father worked for the toy industry, and he got a bunch of my roommates, there was only like a certain number of tickets, and a few of my roommates were really into WWF, so I let them go in my stead. They had a blast. They got to meet Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. They got like really good seats. It was pretty cool. I wonder if I'm not getting any video out of the VCR. This blue screen here is normal for this VCR. That's the rewind. Hear that? This thing had a monster rewind motor on it. Because that was a costly thing. If you didn't rewind, it was not good. So let's see if this thing is going to get us any video here. Now I wonder, let me just unplug the video cable here and see if, yeah, so I don't know if it's actually getting any video or not. Maybe there's some reason they give you two different cables. Because it's definitely, it has some video here because I have time code. So let's try the other cable. Because this VCR I know is working. So we'll see what we get here. And OC My Brain says the VCR BSOD. I think we've got that here, folks. But I know all this stuff works. I'm not sure about the tapes, but I know that the VCR is functional. AV in, HDMI. Oh, wait a minute, I had it plugged into the wrong port. That's what it was. There we go. It was confusing. All right, let's see what we get here. There we go. This was fun. This is 1991. Let's hit record here. This is 1991. This is Hurricane Bob. This, incidentally, was the day the Soviet Union fell also, same day. And the hurricane turned out to be much ado about nothing. But my mother was yelling at me, get back in the house. Now, this is from the VCR, and I don't have the remote control for the VCR to get rid of that. So we'll see what, I'm as eager to see what the recording quality looks like here. My hope was like I'd get on the news with my video here. Let's see if I can hear anything. There's no sound. There should be sound, but there isn't. Yeah, it's not getting any audio. So this is recording at 480p. So I expect we'll see a 480 file. The other thing I'm curious about is whether or not we're going to see this stretched out or not. I think this monitor will stretch anything it gets, but I don't want to see a stretched image here. You see those clouds moving. All right, so that's that tape. I'm actually curious to see what's on this tape, to be honest with you. So let me inject this one in a second. By the way, this was the week I got Wing Commander. I remember we were playing, there comes some more rain there, so that was when the rain was coming through. Yeah, the storm wasn't much of a storm. Yeah, this was 1991. How about that? How many was that? This is 30 years ago. Is that what that is? Yeah. 30 years ago in August. And you can see it jumping a little bit. I don't think that's I don't think that's this thing. At that point, the camera I was using, it had been knocked around a lot, and I think it would sometimes run off track. So we'll try the other tape here in a minute and see if that one fares any better. But yeah, this was 30 years ago. All right, so let's stop that. We'll hit the stop on, oops, I keep hitting that button. And then we'll play back the file in a second. So let's eject the tape. And let's see if this high school tape is salvageable. It didn't look too good to me, but we'll see if it's... So Mark Dell said, were you supposed to leave your tapes fully rewound? I don't know if that's true or not. Here we go. Yeah, so this is from 1994. And this is my high school's career day, which we did at the Westbrook Elks Club. And this tape is in rough shape, so I think that's part of the problem. Again, I'm really curious to see what, and by the way, I haven't stopped recording. So we'll see what this looks like when we get it back. Now, why were we here, you may wonder? Well, we had this construction project going on, and there was no room in our school, so they got us out of the building for the day. I think this was just the senior class that did this. And I still know everybody's name because there was only a few of us. Who is that? I can't see the faces. It's kind of dark. That's one of the career people we were talking to. And so what we did is we did a video yearbook that year. If you go on YouTube and search for Westbrook High School 1994 yearbook, you'll see that. There's Brad. So Brad right there, he got on, he was on David Letterman. He has an amazing skill. He can balance anything on his head, or on his chin, or his nose, something like that. So on David Letterman, he did Stupid Human Tricks, and he balanced a barbecue on his chin that he had lit. It was like a functioning barbecue that he had on his chin, balancing it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so Red Hornet, I did notice I had a few other tapes upstairs that I was really bummed out about that had some, they definitely had some mold deterioration on it. This one looked the best of that group. So we'll have to see how that looks a little later. I don't think I recognize everybody here. So the adults are like all career people that are giving career advice. I think he was the first selectman of the town at the time. That's Ray Jones, I think was his name. I think he passed away. Let's see who else we got on there. There's Nate, my friend Nate. I'm not sure who that guy is. I did know that, I think we had somebody from the WWF actually, because they're located in Connecticut, and one of them was a high school graduate. All right, so there we go. So now what I want to do, we got some footage here. It's not very good footage, but I don't know what the extent of this is. And I think what we'll do too is we'll hook the old 3DO up to this in a minute too, just to get a feel for like what a non-VHS kind of image will look like. So now that we're done with that, let me turn it off again. And what we'll do here, yeah, this tape has not been played probably since 1994. Like it's been sitting, yeah, see if you look here, Red Hornet can probably, that tape's not looking too good. It's in pretty rough shape. So I got to go through all my old VHS tapes now. I got to go back and see where I put them all because I got some fun stuff on those. All the important footage I have archived, but we'll see what it does. And I'm not expecting much out of this. Like I said, we'll hook up the 3DO in a minute and see how that looks. Let me just grab the SD card out of here. And we'll pop it into the card reader, and we'll have a look at the quality of the footage that it recorded. Now, I did it all as like one shot. So let's see what we ended up with here. That's the Rocket League. OK, here we go. Ooh, yeah, so big problem. Big problem. It got audio, so that was OK. But look, folks, it's stretching it. And then look, it put the timestamp back on it again. So you gotta go back and turn off the timestamp again. It looks fine. I mean, it's doing, so it's up converting it to 1080p, and then it's stretching it. The bit rate is only about 10 megabits per second, which I guess that's not good, actually. Because if you're up converting, you shouldn't be running at a lower bit rate. So I'm not going to say this is not going to be a good experience for recording this stuff, because what it should be doing is preserving the aspect ratio, and it's not. It's stretching it out. I mean, it doesn't look bad. In fact, it probably looks a little better than than the source stuff. It actually looks better on the computer than it did on the monitor a minute ago, didn't it? That's the yearbook. This guy works for the yearbook company. That's who they were talking to. Okay. So you know what we're going to do next? We're going to plug we'll plug the 3DO in next and see how that does. But I'm not expecting anything different here, and we'll see if there's a setting for that. And Utsu says, yeah, there's a number of, oops, wrong one. 3 sets of timestamps. Mark Dell's got the modded 3. Oh, so I forgot to tell you, Mark Dell. Maybe I did tell you. So my cousin, who got me into a lot of this geeky stuff when I was a kid, he lives in Tokyo. And we had a little family gathering via Zoom the other night. And I said to my cousin, I said, hey, have you ever been to Super Potato? And he's like, Super Potato? What the heck is that? And I said, you never heard of Super Potato? So I told him all about Super Potato, which is a place that you go to check out used video game gear. And I can't think of any place better to find used video game gear than Tokyo, Japan. And so he looked it up, and he's like, oh my gosh, it's not far from me. So he went out and went to Super Potato. And he goes, do you need anything? And I said, I do, as a matter of fact. So I said, find me one of these, because in Japan, there's a special version of the 3DO console that has there's a special version of the 3DO console. Let's grab the AV cables here. That will give you a true 240 image. Because I think what the 3DO does is it processes the image before it puts it out in the American version. And so when you hook up S-Video, it just has like this layer of gray to it that just doesn't look very good, because it's always outputting 480i, even though it doesn't need to. And so this Japanese version has a mode switch where you can bypass that filter. So it just gives you a straight up beautiful, beautiful image. All right, let's plug that in. And I think what I'm going to load up on here, what do I have here? Sample this, Starfighter. I think we're going to load up some Road Rash, because that's kind of like the quintessential game to demo on the 3DO. Do I have it down here? I don't. Where did it go? Let's find something else then. Where did it go? Huh. Well, that stinks. What did I do with my Road Rash game? I got the box over here. Let's see. Ugh. The box. Is it in the game? It is. Perfect. Here we go. We're going old school. This is my actual copy. Actually, it's funny. I bought this the same year of that Elks Club video we just watched. So let me just plug it in. And we're going to turn it back on again. And I've also got to put the SD card back in. So let's do that real quick. Yeah, so I'm not enthusiastic here. The big issue I see with this is that, yes, it works with the analog video. Great that it's trying to upconvert. Bad that it is, that's cool, I just saw the 3DO logo pop up on its screen. Bad that it is trying to stretch it out, which is not what you want. And we got to go back through the menu here. So now it's funny because we have the watermark off, but it was still putting it on the recording. Why was it doing that? All right, let's go back to recording resolution. Yeah, it's just locked in at that. All right, so let's go, because we have the watermark off, but you all saw that it was putting it on there. And let me grab my SD card out of my computer here. I mean, I guess my expectations should not be so high for this stuff, but I don't think it's a lot to ask that if you're recording footage with a 4:3 aspect ratio that it maintains it. Although maybe I'm just a total nerd and think, you know, maybe they correctly estimate that consumers don't care about that. I don't know. So let's see what, so I have it on AV. I'm just trying to see if there is if there's an option to adjust the aspect ratio, because I don't see it. Oops. The fan on my 3DO is starting to get a little long in the tooth here, so it's a little noisy. I'll check for a firmware on their site too, see if there's maybe a firmware update. So let's try, just for the heck of it, let's do 4K 30 and see what we get. But you can all see like the complexity of my life here, because what starts as a very simple project becomes more than that. So I'm going to record just a quick shot here on the 4K thing. And what I'm looking for is whether or not it's going to try to convert that over. So David Langley has the EasyCap 295, but gives you the choice of aspect ratio. And by the way, the input lag on the analog input is abysmal. I could feel it. Stretches, AV content, awful input lag on AV. Yes, there's a lot of video processing going on with this. Here, watch. I'm going to hit this. Ready? I am pushing it right now. 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 See that? And it's not even consistent. Although that might have been a load time thing there. It had to load off the disk maybe, but the rest of it's been pretty bad. All right, so let's go and see how this works real quick. Sorry, I'm missing a bunch of comments. Nick MG says, "Oh my God, a 3DO." Yeah, you get the best when you're watching one of my streams. Now I'm not hearing any sound out of the box here, although I don't know if it's outputting to the thing or not. Let me just hit record here. Is it record? There it goes. I mean, it looks pretty lousy on the monitor, but I found that with the videotape we were looking at a minute ago, it looked bad on the monitor, but good on the recording. So I suspect what it's doing right now is it's upconverting to 4K from the AV input source here. All right, let's see. But yes, you got yourself a 3DO. Sammy is here on the Amazon chat. Hello there. And we're just doing a little testing of this, this box that we got the other day. I always look for I always look for this stuff because every once in a while you find something that's like really, it kind of sits in a little obscure place on Amazon and, like nobody knows about it, and you find this thing and it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And this is not that product, but it had the potential to be because of the versatility that it has. But again, my concerns here are that it is stretching the AV image, which I would imagine is something they could maybe make correctable. And you hear that awful fan noise from my 3DO. It's been making that noise for the better part of 15 years now, I think. The fact that it still works with its original optical drive, I think, is pretty remarkable. And you know what's funny about this game is that this was something that if you saw it in the store at the time it was being sold, it was groundbreaking. Like, whoa, what is that? I need one of those, because it was a, you would not get graphics like this even on the PC for another 2 years. They very quickly got eclipsed by the PlayStation. But in 1993, 94, I think this game came out in 93 or 94. I bought it in the fall of 94. This is what sold a lot of systems. They dropped the price, and then there was road rash, and I think that made a big difference. All right, so let's stop the recording. No, I don't want to save a screenshot. I want to stop recording. Then they've got like the, and they play like all like licensed music. So like they had Soundgarden and a bunch of popular hard rock alternative music intermixed in there. And 3DO had great video quality. This is purposely color graded to look like that. But the video quality out of this was so much better than the Sega CD at the time. Mark Dell was saying, can you not change the resolution on a 480 source? No, it doesn't look like it. Let's pop back in and see. If I go back to the menu. Yeah, because all it lets you do is change the recording resolution. But let's go to H.264. Yeah, it's still giving us the same options here. So I'm not seeing any real difference here. And I'm not seeing any button to adjust. There is a button for record quality, but it looks as though like when you hit, like the buttons on the remote are kind of shortcuts to the menu item. See that? So I hit the record quality, and it just dropped me over to that menu there. Oh, TrapExit, that's right, I forgot. TrapExit has always got the good scoop on the 3DO stuff. So the music is all from A&M. The label didn't want to license the music, but Soundgarden licensed it directly. And it's all Cinepack, huh? I had no idea. With compressed AIFF audio. But it looks so much better than anything else out there at the time. Maybe it's just the color palette that it had. Is that why it looked better? And yeah, the menu is pretty laggy. I'll give you that. It wasn't too bad as I was playing it. We'll have to see. And then Mark says that the issues here are just software decisions rather than hard faults. I suspect that there's some difficulty in getting the aspect ratio right with some of this older these older video the older video aspect ratios. Let me shut it down here. Let's take a look at the recording and just see. So this one we did at 4K 30. The VCR one was 1080p 60. So let's see if there's any difference here in the 4K mode. So we'll take the card out and we'll pop it in here. And I'm adding to my notes here as we go. So the list is getting longer as we're working our way through the thing. I plan on shooting this tomorrow morning. I have 2 things to shoot tomorrow, so that's my plan. All right. Yeah, same thing. So here's what we got. And this though, let me take a look and see what. Oh, interesting. So we set this to 4K, didn't we? Because it didn't change the record quality. It's just doing 1080, but it is stretched. This should not be as stretched as it is. It didn't fill the screen back then. But, you know, I'll say this much. I think the color looks good. Like you saw that on the VHS thing also. Like and maybe to Mark's point, the guts are there. Like the encoder they have for a consumer encoder does not look bad. The color looks good to me. It doesn't look bad to me. But we're dealing with this issue of stretching out the old content. There was a little bit of a frame lag there. I don't know if you all saw that. Let's see. Let's see if it comes back again here. I'm not sure if anyone's really going to notice that. And it could have been a load hit from the disk. Actually curious also what the frame. Yes, this was 60. So it's upscaling to 1080p 60. I think I want to run this again. This time to make sure it does the 4K recording and see what we get. It didn't put that clock back up again though, even though it did it on the other one. Yeah. Huh. All right. So let's see if we can force it into upscaling to 4K, and then we'll. And I also don't think they intended anyone to spend this much time trying to tweak it. But you know what, though? I mean, this is something that, you know, a young kid is going to look at, like, hey, I can do my game capture on this thing. It costs less than like one of those Adamus Ninja things, like those really expensive recording devices. And, you know, to a degree, it's going to do what it says it's going to do. I think that's kind of like, it's kind of there, but not quite, you know? So just so you know what we've got, this is the HDMI going out to the monitor. And then what I could do here is just show you what the screen looks like. The good news is the battery it seems to have stabilized. I haven't checked the battery. I wasn't paying attention to the battery level before, but we'll take a look and see what it looks like here. And so we got the 3DO kind of showing up there. Yeah, the battery's at 70% now. Oh, I got to turn this off. Hang on a second. Sorry, if that plays, I get instant copyright. I wouldn't be surprised if it already got dinged. Let's see. No, we're still okay. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go into the menu here. Yeah, so I have the recording resolution set to 4K 30. I wonder if that's codec determined. So let's go back to this and set it to H.265. And now I'm curious if it's going to record at 4K or is it still going to give us the 1080p? It's one of the things you run into. There's always these mysteries with these little devices that you have to kind of figure out, because sometimes the settings don't do what they say they're going to do. Oops. All right, so we'll take a look here and see if we can see what it looks like. but it definitely stretches it out no matter what. And yeah, let's see. This is what I was testing, Mark. We'll see if it gives us any options. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like we had it at 1080p. We had it at 4K. I thought it was going to record at 4K on that last run, and it didn't. So let's see what happens here. I'm just waiting for the 3DO here to just explode. This is the original. Like, this is not someone that I bought later. It is, you know, the OG circa 94. Still works. So let's see what we get here. We'll just kind of let it run on the little recorder. So we'll try the same level. And let me catch up on my chats here. Looks like I'm caught behind on there again. Nick wants to know, could we plug an SLR into it? There is, you could, although it wouldn't be balanced. You can input it through the same port that this is running on. Although I don't know if that port is going to work when you're in HDMI mode. I'll have to look into that one. All right, so we're going to let this record for another minute or two here. I can't really see it very well. The viewing angles on the screen are not good. But it doesn't look bad, does it? This is like what you would envision like the portable 3DO to look like. It's probably not an IPS display, and it's not a very large one either. But I just want to get enough to have a recording here. But the battery life seems to have evened out a bit, so I'm going to have to do a little more digging into the battery life, because before it was like it was plunging, but over the last half hour or so, it seems to have stabilized. Now, remember, I told it I want to record at 4K, and that's what we set it to. But you can see it stretching out the image in the screen here. It should be a little more square than it is. All right, so let's hit the end of the recording there. Oops, I did that again, didn't I? Okay. All right, so now the recording has stopped, so I can pull the card out safely. Okay, so now we're going to plug the card back in, and let's see what we get on here. All right. So this was, remember, we had the 4K setting on there, and this looks like, nope, it still did 1080. So it looks like the, no matter what you set, yeah, so we had specifically told it, let me go back into the settings here. We specifically requested that this thing record H.265 4K 30, but I think this AV thing is locked because the video that we just recorded out of this thing, this is the one, right? Yeah. This video, as you can see, is locked in at 1080p H.264 and stretched. And it looks a little more square here because it's just the nature of the of how the 3DO put this on screen. It didn't fill the screen back in the day. So you had a little extra on the left and right hand side of the screen. But it looks good, you know what I mean? Like if it wasn't stretched, I'd be much happier about it. You know, so for somebody that's looking to capture their old VCR or something, great, but you know, everything's gonna be stretched out. And the worst part is people are gonna say, "Oh, it looks fine on my screen. It'll look great. It'll look fine. It looks pretty good. It's upscaling it." But it's not at the right aspect ratio, so everything's going to be stretched out. But that's how most people watch standard definition content anyhow, so it's like it's a losing battle. And I think they probably didn't want to deal with having that complexity to the mix there. So I'm going to talk about a Zune. Yeah, so Dom, I'm going to go get my Nintendo Switch upstairs, which I know will just do 1080p. So talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I will be right back. My children will undoubtedly intercept me on the way up the stairs, so I'll be right back. All right, we're almost there, everybody. I just have to go acquire the Switch. So it's right up here. And I also need one of my controllers. And let me run downstairs here. Okay. I got through unscathed. So to add to my mess here and my misery, we're going to clean up a little bit. So let me so I got the Switch. I'm going to just put everything away where I found it for the most part. I want somebody to port the 3DO to the Mister, because I would love to have a much, you see, this is the problem, like when you become a big retro gamer, is that you have so much stuff and it doesn't coexist, so you have to like, I mean, you could set up like a whole big thing with, you know, with, hang on, let's just unplug this. You could set up a whole big thing with switch boxes and da-da-da-da, but it's not ideal. And what's been great about the Mister for me is that I've been able to consolidate into a single device, and I can hook it up to my CRT, and even the stuff that I didn't have in an RGB format. So a great example is the NES. The NES on a Mister outputting at the RGB looks beautiful on a CRT, and the light gun works. You need some special stuff for that. But I also have the analog NT Mini, which I use a lot with the light gun, and that's been a lot of fun. More fun when I had friends over, which we will hopefully have over again soon. I'm getting my next shot on Thursday, so that I'm looking forward to. So then we can have some people over again. A whole bunch of us, the whole group of us school parents are going up together because we all got our first batch together, which probably was not a smart thing given the condition we'll all be in probably after that. There it is. Okay, so let me plug this in. All right, so we are going to connect the Switch to this thing. I even have an HDMI cable ready to go. And the SD card needs to get ejected. So let's get this going. I have a game called Fast RMX on the Switch, and that one runs at 60 hertz, so I think that one's going to be a good fit for this. And we have to move this into a different mode. We've got to move it to the 1080p HDMI mode. And to answer an earlier question, I think this is mislabeled. There's a headphone jack, but it has a microphone on it. But I don't think that is labeled properly. Let's take a look at the instructions, because there was a question as to whether or not you could bring in analog audio along with the HDMI video. Okay, so number 4 Oh, it is a microphone jack. Input for microphone, headset, or output for headphones. So apparently it does allow a microphone, but it's got to be one of those three-prongers that you plug in. All right, I've got a big old mess to clean up here in a minute. Okay, so we've got the monitor here. I'm going to run this one out to the HDMI, and then this is the HDMI input here, and that's going into my little dock here, and we're going to get the switch going. And let me get my controller booted up. This is the new SN30 Pro 2. They call it now the 8BitDo Pro 2. That's what they call this one now. And I've got to fire this thing back up again in order to see anything. So let's get the power button hit here. And we're going to reboot it. And we'll come back to this in 1 second. This is good. I'll get most of my footage shot, so I'm actually happy you all have been helping me with this. It's almost 4 o'clock here in the eastern United States. Okay. So we're going to let that boot up. And we'll see what game my kids were playing a minute ago. All right, so I've got to switch it now. We have to switch out of AV mode and go back to HDMI. So we're going to go video source, HDMI. And then I'm going to change the recording resolution to 1080p 60 because that's what this outputs. Let's see what we get here. And Red Hornet says, helping me. Yes, no charge. Thank you. I appreciate everybody popping in here because it is helpful. I'm just going to get the controller paired up here. Okay. All right, so now we are going. And so far, I have not found a way to get rid of this thing at the top of the screen. None of these buttons seem to get rid of that. I mean, I could understand having like a, all right, so watermark is off. Yeah, there's just no option to get rid of it. And I could see like having, having that is helpful, but it shouldn't always be there. All right, so let me go find. Fast RMX. I boot this game up only when I'm using capture devices like this, so bear with me here. Where did I put it? Yeah, I have Night Trap. It's on a. I bought it from Limited Run, solely for the reason that they said on during the congressional hearings back in the 90s that game would never be on a Nintendo console, and I thought it was quite funny that. That they did that. All right, I got some more folks to say hello to. First of all, I'm going to address some comments here. So Mark Dell's, yeah, I need to get an ODE for my 3DO. I want something that's easy to install. And it looks like they're trying to do an open source 3DO ODE first. That's fine. I got the hardware, so I'm happy. I got 2 of them now. The problem is I haven't figured out, if anyone knows of a way to get stuff back from Japan inexpensively, why don't you send me an email? Because that's holding us up right now, is that. Frank Arndt is here. Guten Tag. X is saying, I'm new in this live streaming. Well, welcome. We're very friendly here, for most of us anyway, at any rate. David's getting the first shot in the UK on Friday. Excellent. Yeah, it's mine was okay. I kept a log of it. I'm going to do a review of the whole experience. So you'll hear about that on Monday maybe. Dom says, if this turns out not to be great, I'd be interested to hear for solutions. So you know what I think works fairly well for VHS? There's 2 things that I have. One is the RetroTink. That one works well. And then I've got this other thing, oops, that I bought for a totally different reason. Where is it? It's not in here at the moment. Oh, here it is. So this thing actually works really well. This is a Geffen composite to HDMI scaler. And so this will take stuff and properly scale it up. So if you have a 16 by 9 VHS image, it will appropriately scale it up. Now this is the Geffen thing's expensive, so I think the RetroTink might be the less expensive option. And I bought that scaler specifically to do the 3DO way back in the day when I was doing my retro reviews and stuff. So I've had that in the box over there for a while. It works really well. It's just pricey. Where did I put the controller? Here it is. Okay, so we're going to record a little footage of this at 60p. So we're going to do a quick little, I don't know, hero mode. I haven't played this in forever. I got to win a cup in championship mode. Okay, so let's just do that real quick. I'll stay on novice. Okay. This was a launch title on the Switch. So when I got the Switch, there wasn't much to play it when it came out. And so what we're looking for here is that it can maintain, smooth playback on a 60p kind of thing. All right, I gotta remember how to play it. But this is a good one to test on the Switch because it does run at a nice smooth 60, so it's a good title to test this with. And so when we're doing the projector reviews and stuff, like this is the game I usually load up just because the Switch is really easy to work with because it's so portable, and it's very quick to boot it up. And this is a great game to demo for 60p console kind of stuff. And I'll say, the lag on this doesn't feel that bad. Oh, I could switch phase. That's right. Okay. There's a phase switching with this too. Okay. My kids and I love Mario Kart. That's a fun game on. We play a lot. We've been playing a lot of Smash Brothers lately. After all these years, I finally get Smash Brothers. I think it took me having kids to really get the feel for how it's supposed to play. But my 4-year-old is actually pretty good at it. I don't let them win. Like they beat me fair and square, and like my 4-year-old was ruthless yesterday. All right, we'll just do a little bit more of this, and then do about 2 minutes of footage here and see how it looks when it's done. Although I suspect it's going to be fine. I mean, it's been doing, the capture has been fine with this. All right, cool. Stop recording. Perfect. Okay, so now let's put the Switch back to sleep. And then we're going to pop the card out, and let's see how this works. Red Hornet says, we use that Geffen scaler for converting our HD to SD for the local council meeting broadcasts on the cable channels. Oh, it's interesting. So you go the other way. Yeah, Geffen, like I was looking around back in the early days. I have a visitor. Hello, Ellie. The ruthless, what can I do for you? You want the Mario game? Okay. Why don't you bring it down, and I will, because Daddy's in the middle of a live stream right now, so I'll put it on, I'll bring it back up to you in a second, okay? Because you have your PJs on still. I think let's not jump in front of the camera, okay, little one? Let me get you want the Mario Kart one? Okay. Bear with me, folks. We have a visitor. Can you say hi, Ellie?
Hi.
So which game did you beat Daddy in yesterday? You did. You were ruthless, weren't you? Are you ruthless?
Uh-huh.
All right, hang on, Ellie. The other problem with Ellie's iPad is that she fills up the space, right, Ellie? You never have space on your iPad. All right. Bear with me, folks. Kids are on their April vacation. All right, we got to ask permission. I have all the parental controls on here too, so she can't just buy stuff, right, Ellie?
Uh-huh.
You have to ask permission to buy anything, right? And the Mario game is free, so that's one that Daddy likes. Maybe your sister can help you play it, okay, Ellie?
Oh.
Here you go. Have Kira show you how to play, okay? And I'll be up in a little while. All right. It's almost there. See? It is loading up right now.
I'm going to see it load.
Okay.
Here's it.
Right there. So why don't you go upstairs? Let me help you. Whoa. You're getting so big. Okay, go have your sister show you how to play, okay? All right, I'll be back up in a few minutes. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Ugh. Duty calls. All right. Yeah, she always invades me. Like, she's constantly... It's funny, my little one likes these dollhouse apps, and she's always, like, trying to get me to buy her the add-ons. And I try not to, like... I want her to, like, do something to earn the app. And you think about it, like, when I was her age, you couldn't just buy stuff at home, right? You had to go to the store where the stuff was. But now they've got these apps, and like, they download, like, the starter part, and there's 75 add-ons of this little scenario. With it, she gets me every time. She is, but she's cute, and she knows it. But I'm good. I'm very disciplined about it. So I make her clean up her mess. The problem is, like, I want her to, like, do chores, but the chores that typically involve her cleaning up after herself, which she should be doing anyhow, right? All right, let's go and play this back here. So this is what we just captured. And this is HEVC. This looks pretty good. Yeah, so it's 60 frames per second, and the bit rate is 18.72 HEVC. Oops, sorry, that was me. That was not the fault of the thing there. That looks good to me. I mean, for, kind of a general consumer device like this, it doesn't look bad. And, it's doing HEVC, which is great. So, it's maintaining the frame rate. I would not recommend this as a professional device, of course, but, this looks okay to me. So Jeffrey Powers wants to know what the bit rate is. So this one we did at just to review the bit rates here, we did this one at 1080p 60. HEVC, this was running at, looks like 18.72 megabits per second. So I'm guessing in total with the audio, it's probably hovering around 20. And then we did a 4K 31 a little bit earlier, and that one was running around 30 megabits per second HEVC. And it's it's not bad. It's like an all-inclusive little device. I mean, there's going to be some shortfalls with this one, which we'll talk about. But it's kind of nice to have that in an all-inclusive package here. But it looks fine. I mean, granted, I haven't recorded like a super long thing, but I'll do that just to test it. And that's where the video ended. That's why it stopped. So I have like mixed feelings on this, right? I mean, there's certain things that I'm happy about, other things that I'm not happy about. Its core function is good. And we have audio. There's not a lot of granular control to it, so that's, it's kind of what you're going to be dealing with. But, it seems to do okay. The battery life actually is passable. I mean, we've been at this now. It's been on essentially for the last 2 hours, and we're at the 63% mark. Now, I think if we were recording continuously, it would not be the same story, but it seems like it's doing okay. So we'll have to see what else we get out of it. Now, the other thing that I wanted to test is that it will, according to their documentation, work as a capture device. So why don't we look at that real quick. I'm just going to boot up the switch here again. And I'm going to plug it into my Mac. It basically kind of appears as like your run-of-the-mill capture device. So you could plug this directly into your whatever. So let me plug this into my USB. Oh, my controller's going nuts here. So let me plug this into my USB hub here. And we'll pop that in there. And then we'll plug the USB port here into this. So I'm going to plug this into my Mac. All right, so that's plugged in. And let me see if my Mac has picked it up as a as a recording device. Not yet. Okay, so that's where I think we've got to go into the menu again. And there could be a whole host of reasons for why it's not currently giving me what I'm looking for. So back to the menu. Now there was a setting for the USB mode, right? So it's in storage mode. We want this to be in streaming mode. All right, so now, oh, so you lose that. My gut is you probably will lose the ability to get any kind of recording going on simultaneously with it as well. Let's see if that gut check is true. So I'm going to go into my Mac here, and let's take a look. Yeah, so it's picking up the audio, but not the video, on the Mac at least. So let's unplug it and plug it back in again and see what we get. And it goes back to storage mode once that USB is disconnected. Oops. Okay, so it's not showing up as a video source on my Mac, and typically these things do. So I'm going to plug it into the PC now and see if the PC, oops, I didn't mean to do that, if the PC will give us a better outcome. It looks like it just froze up. Let me unplug the USB here. All right, so let's plug it into the USB on the computer. Let's put this back in here too. So the Mac didn't like it. So now we're going to try the PC. And on the PC, I have the ability to run OBS on here, so we can see if it shows up in there. So bear with me here. I'm just going to add my computer as another input source. And we're going to give that a shot. So laptop, display 1, okay. All right. So let's unplug the controller here. Ouch. Okay. And now we got to go back into the into the menu here. And we need to go to USB mode, PC streaming mode. Okay, so now go back to here, and we're going to add this video source to the mix. I'm just going to load up a little OBS here for you. Let me show you what I've got on screen over here. I haven't used OBS in a while. I've got to remember how to do what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so that's ready to go. I may have to reboot OBS, but let's see what we get. So we're going to go over to video capture device. Let's call it test. And that's my camera. Is it this one? I don't think it's that one. Nope, it doesn't like that one. It's not the NDI. It's definitely not any of this vMix stuff. I think this is it, but it doesn't seem to be responding at all, so maybe you have to reboot it again. Let's see. Go back to here. Yeah, so the USB mode went back to storage mode. PC streaming mode. All right, so there it goes. Okay, so that should do it. So let's go back to the computer here in a second. Oh, it did show up briefly here, but the colors are all out of whack. So let me, let's remove everything here and start from scratch. And I'll load it up in vMix also in a minute just to see if it works with that any better. So there's the camera. We're going to switch to UVC camera. Yeah, so the color is totally out of whack here. But I'm going to set this to custom, and maybe I have to force it. So we'll say 1080 match frames per second. It's going to be 60. See if maybe setting the color space might adjust it at all, but it doesn't look like it. Yeah, so it's not, doesn't seem to be working too good as a streaming device here. But let me go and try two more things here. Let's try vMix real quick. I don't know if I can load vMix because I'm running it currently on my computer, but let's see if it lets me load it up. So I have the same, yeah, okay. So let's add it to our input here. So we'll go to camera. Now with these ones, what I often have to do is select the codec video format. And I think these typically are MJPEG. Let's see if that is working the way the others have worked. Yeah, we're still getting some color issues there, aren't we? So let's pull the switch out for a second and see if that makes any difference. Yeah, it's like just a frozen image. So I think this thing needs to get rebooted. So let's try that, because the image I'm seeing is just a frozen. It's almost like it just locked up. So let's turn it off, and we'll reboot it and see if that gives us a better output. Red Hornet says it would be interesting to review the new iPod Touch. Every iPod Touch purchase now contributes. Actually, I looked at Red Hornet. Why don't you check the one I did? Because I know I reviewed the iPod Touch the last time they had a major revision to it. So see if you can see that on the YouTube channel. Let me know if that's the newest one. But if not, I'm happy to do it, because I usually those actually do pretty well on my channel, because most people don't think about the iPod Touch. But there still is a place for them. Okay, so now it is back up. And so you can see, as you'll see in a second, hopefully, we'll get video on the display here after it gets everything formatted. And what we're going to do is go to PC streaming mode again. Okay, so now I'm getting a new message on the computer that they're setting it up. So I bet you that we had to do that. Okay, so let's try to add the input again. I'm going to get rid of this one, and we're going to add it again and see what we get. Camera. So we're going to select UVC camera. I'm just going to go with the default here to start and see what happens, but usually I have to change it to motion JPEG. That looks much better. Okay, so that's working. And you know what, for the heck of it, ooh, you know, it doesn't look that good, does it? But that I think I know why that is. So see how the color looks totally off on it? I don't think it's compressing it. I hope it isn't. But I think what's happening here is that it needs to get changed to a different mode. And I saw this before with some of these other cheap inputs that we've looked at. And if you change the video format to MJPEG, that usually corrects it. And it doesn't. That looks awful. That looks really bad. It should not look like that. I'm not sure what's going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up the Windows camera app on this. This might be something I have to explore more of because it looks terrible. So let's load up the Windows camera app. And let's see if that fares any better. So let's go back to my computer. And we're going to switch the camera. Oh, it just rebooted. It just like totally reset itself. So let's let that reboot. But I have a feeling that this thing is not going to be something I recommend for PC streaming, because it seems like, I mean, honestly, you're not buying this to do PC streaming, because you can buy a $30 capture card that does work much better than this one currently does. All right, so let's go back down. USB mode. But I will say it's definitely trying my patience here. All right, let's see if it works this time. Yeah, look how lousy this looks. I mean, it's like compressing the heck out of it at like a really low bit rate. That is not. I mean, you saw how good it looked in the video when we had it recorded. See all those artifacts? That looks terrible. Just make sure I'm not crazy. Yeah, it's like, you see all the noise around? It's almost like running it through some like really low bit rate. That looks awful. All right, just to make sure I'm not crazy, we're going to plug this back into the Mac and see if we can get it to do the same thing over there. So I'm going to plug it in. And it has to be plugged in first, and then you got to switch it over, is what it looks like. All right. Lon Dog has been lurking here for a while, everybody. Put him up on screen there. And Redacted made it over. I'm having fun in the sun. Yeah, my artificial sun that I create with my studio lights. Michael Kidd said, MJPEG will not include audio. You know, I think it does, because audio, I think, on vMix is a separate setting. So it comes over it on it's a different mode. All right, so let's make sure I'm not totally crazy here. We're going to go PC streaming mode. And it's doing this again. So we got to reboot it again. So this is not a good experience to stream to your PC. If you want to stream to your PC that bad, I would buy the $20 cheapo. I got 3 of them in my bin back there as emergency devices. All right, we're going to boot it back up here again and see what we get. Redacted says the iPad YouTube app shows exactly 300,000. So yeah, that is not accurate. So what YouTube does, I think when you get above 1,000 subscribers, it estimates. So I don't think it'll show you a new number until it's close to 301,000. So my actual number right now, if I look on here, my actual number is 300,719. So it should soon be 301K. All right, let's see. Yeah, so right, Dom, it does look like a low bitrate webcam. So now I'm going to go back and change the video source. We're keeping that. We're going to change the USB recording mode to PC streaming mode. Okay, so now it should cycle. So that, yeah, so now it's doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, so now we're going to go back to my Mac here. I'm going to load up the QuickTime player. Yeah, this doesn't strike me as a good solution for PC recording. I feel like they tried to pack too many features into this thing. Yeah, it's not even showing up as a camera here. So yeah, I'm going to skip that as a solution. I will check their website though and see if there is a firmware update real quick. So ClearClick. Let's see if they have a website. A lot of these folks they don't even have a website. They just go right into Amazon. But they've got like a little photo scanner thing. I've never had good luck with these things. where you put your photos in and it just like fires them off. Because they're like little video cameras. They don't do very well. I haven't tried this one, so maybe theirs is better. I'm not sure. But let's go take a look at their download section. By the way, look at all this stuff they've got. They've got all this weird stuff, like these retro radio Bluetooth players. Isn't that wild? So this is the one we're looking at here, the HD Capture Box Ultimate 4K Edition. It's not cheap, so that's why I mean, like, there's a higher bar here. If it was $99, this would be a bargain, right? But at that price, it's like, you know, you're kind of in the Elgato territory, and like the Elgato stuff is, I would say the Elgato stuff for streamers is like professional kind of gear, you know. So if you're gonna play there, you got to play, you know. And I'm not sure about it, to be honest with you. All right, so all they have is the user's manual, so there's no firmware update. The manual is in color on their website, though, so there's that. But like, here's what's funny is, oh, here, okay, so there's a little bit. This was not in the manual. This is on their online manual, but not here. And this looks totally different than what it looks like to me on the thing. Yeah, it's like this is all not what I saw on my screen. Yeah, this is not the right. So they added to the end of the instruction book a whole separate, like here's scheduled recordings, which doesn't work on mine. Is there a firmware update they didn't tell me about? I don't think so. This might be the other one. They got them confused. So the one I have, this one is the Video Capture Box Ultimate. It looks totally different than what they have on this website. Very weird. Because this one does support scheduled recordings. But the one I have does not. So is there a mystery firmware out there? That remains to be seen. Well, everybody, I think I've got what I'm looking for here. David Martin Graff likes capture cards. So you know what I'm using, everybody. I've got, I'll show you what I'm using. This is not cheap, but it works really well. It is, I think it's about $500 I paid for it. Let me get the name of it for you here. I'll pull it up. It's called the Deck Link. I'll pull up the Amazon page for it. So it's a quad HDMI capture card. Yeah, this is the one I have here. I'll pull it up on screen. So this is the one that I use. And so it's got 4 HDMI inputs on it. It's PCI. It'll do 4K 60 out of each of these. So I'm only doing 1080p, but this is essentially what drives the channel. So I have 3 cameras plugged in, and I have a 4th input that I use for different stuff when I have things to look at. So for example, when we were doing the review of the Blackmagic ATEM Extreme, I was plugging that into the 4th input. But so this camera, this one, and this one are all plugged into that. I have my hotkey up here. They're plugged into that. It's inside the computer that I built. And this works great, but it's expensive. But you get what you pay for. So for me, I needed something that's stable and works with vMix, and this works great. It really does. The only issue that I have is it occasionally will drop like a tenth of a frame of audio every once in a while. So I'll have these little audio dropouts here and there, but beyond that, it's been really solid. The only thing it didn't like was when I had a splitter splitting the input, so the video was coming out of the splitter into the card, and it didn't like that. So it was having timing issues, but otherwise it works fine. Red Hornet says, look for the ODS control on the remote. I don't see ODS. So I have schedule, but if I push the button here, nothing happens. Yeah, I don't see ODS on the remote. On screen, yeah, that's what I've got. So this is the on-screen display here. So let's see if we unplug the monitor, if it looks different on the screen. I don't think so. I think it just scales it up to the monitor. So if we unplug the monitor, yeah, it looks the same. It's like a totally different thing than what their manuals looks like. So that's all you get. This might be a newer version of whatever they had over there, but that schedule thing doesn't work at all. Because that would be kind of neat. It could work like a little VCR or something. So it's good stuff. And thank you for the congrats, Redacted. Yeah, we hit 300K. We had a little special we did 2 weeks ago. So it's cool. But I don't get a new trophy until I hit 1 million. So we got to keep going. Be another 10 years, I hit the 1 million, then we can get the new trophy. I did not see a firmware update on their website. So I did look on their downloads section, which I'm looking at right now. And as you'll see here, there is a manual, but no firmware. Let's see, downloads and support. Software downloads. Yeah, it's just, nope, nothing. Yeah, there's no firmware to download. I guess I could write to them and ask them, but I think they would, they would want to put a firmware update out there. I have a feeling they must have revved the hardware and maybe improved. I bet you they had one that didn't have HEVC. This one does. So that's, I think when when we're talking about this, that's going to be something that people will find attractive, is that it does have the HEVC capability. But I need to look at that manual again here and see. See, yeah, it mentions nothing of HEVC. Yeah, it's not even mentioned anywhere. Nor is the 4K mentioned here either. So I think this is like brand new. So let me go back to the manual, wherever it may have gone to, and look at one more thing. So here's the real manual. Okay, so a couple more items. So does H.264, H.265, NTSC or PAL, output signals, HDMI, micro USB, micro SD, USB, headphones and speakers, maximum 32 gigabytes per file if you're running NTFS or exFAT, 4 gigabyte per file on FAT32. And what I read from another reviewer is that, when it hits the end of the 32 gigabytes, it just stops recording. It doesn't start another recording. So you got to keep an eye on it. So I mean, for professional use, if you're recording a lot of game footage, it might be an issue. So you're going to want to get your USB or your flash drive formatted as exFAT. And I'm just looking here. Yeah, so the maximum storage capacity. Oh, so I take that back. Maximum storage capacity on the USB flash drive, this is weird, 128 gigs for the flash drive, but it says it'll take a 4 terabyte hard drive. And it supports NTFS. So you know what we're going to do real quick? Let me shut down my computer. I'm going to plug that hard drive into it and see if it recognizes it. Because that drive is formatted, that I have plugged into it, it's formatted for NTFS. So let me find my USB-C cable here. We'll give that a shot and see what we get. This stream has been doing very well on Amazon today, so I'm guessing there's a lot of consumer interest in this thing, which is what I'm always looking for. I want to make sure people are interested in the topics that I cover. All right, so that's shut down. Let me go grab that cable I'm looking for, and we'll see. But still, 4 terabytes, I guess I could deal with that. Right, because most of these hard drives, the SSDs at least, are in that ballpark there. Let's see if I can find the right cable here. This one will do it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. And then I got to run because I got to get on a conference call at 5. My father is in town. He's vaccinated. He's coming over for dinner. My mother hit her 2 weeks today, so she came and saw the kids. Everybody is super excited. Okay, so we're going to plug in my hard drive here. Let's pull it off the ground. So this is one of these are great. These are the SanDisk SSDs. So we're going to plug, I got one of these cables here. Now, this has 2 USB ports on it. So the other one is here at the top. So we'll just pop this in real quick. And this drive is formatted for NTFS. So let's see if it picks it up. So I think we want USB storage mode. And I'm going to change the default storage to USB. Okay, there we go. So now, let's see if it records to that drive. So we'll jump out of the menu here, and I'll grab my controller, and I'll just hit record real quick. Yeah, now it's recording. Yeah, so right now it's recording. It should be recording on the hard drive, so I'll verify that in a minute. So it looks like you're not limited to if you have and it's weird, I don't know how it differentiates between a hard drive and a USB stick, but right now I've got that 1 terabyte SanDisk in there. You see like how much detail you can get into with this stuff? Like it gets crazy after a while. Okay, so now we're going to hit, we'll end the recording. All right, so that stops. I'm going to pop this out. And I'm going to plug it into my Mac here. Now the Mac can't write to this drive, but it can read from it. So let's plug it into my docking station. And let's see if it gave us a file here. So I'm going to go click on my Extreme Video. Yes, so it grabbed here, I'll show you what it sees here. So that successfully recorded. So a little jumpy, that we saw that before, but it was just at the beginning, but after that it goes fine. So that recorded fine on that external hard drive. So it looks like you can do up to a 4 terabyte hard drive, NTFS exFAT or FAT32. However, FAT32 4 gig files, NTFS exFAT 32 gig files, but it doesn't roll over. So yeah. I mean, I don't like that because if you're recording for a long period of time, it's just going to stop. So that's an issue. So there you go. Well, I think we've got what we set out to do here. Turn that off. The kids will be looking for this in a little bit. This Switch has been pretty loved. We play a lot of Switch in this house, so I do like it quite a bit. All right, let me shut down the recorder here. But I think I got a lot done today. This was everything I wanted to do. So this is, just so you all know, when I'm just trying to shut the thing down. It feels like very hollow, which is why I was surprised that there was a battery in this, because it didn't feel like there was a battery inside. Wait for it to come back up. I mean, it does not feel like something that's going to survive in the field. Let's put it that way. But there's redeeming qualities on this, more than I thought there would be. But it's not perfect. All right, so we're going to talk about, I'm just making some notes here. So got some nice comments here. Thank you, Craig, for your kind words. I appreciate that. It's a cool icon you got there. Kevin and Peggy Myers are here. Long-time viewer, first-time watcher on the live stream. Yeah, we've been going for about 2 hours. I usually start streaming around 2 o'clock. I found on Amazon that works the best. Rasmus is here from Denmark. And by the way, I think on Friday, yeah, I got the Pac-Man 99 on there. I think on Friday, I got another one of those magazines from the Video Game History Foundation. So I thought I would do another one of our mystery magazine openings. Those don't do very well as recorded videos, but people like to watch the live streams of that. So we're going to do that one on Friday. So maybe I'll send that an email to everybody to remind them of that. So, I mean, this is not a bad thing. I mean, I think it's something that it's kind of useful because it's got a screen on it. You can record to it without anything else. It does 4K 30 successfully, so it's good. yes, I heard about the new Roku devices, and I am going to try to get a couple of them in because they have a new sound bar, they have a new 4K stick, they have a new remote control that has a battery that recharges by itself, a rechargeable battery with the headphone adapter on it. So, and they have a new operating system update that came down today, so I got to check that out too. So we'll see what we got there. Red Hornet was wondering, am I going to do something on the Mars drone? Yes. So it looks like they had some problems, and it's not going to fly until tomorrow. So we'll figure that out once they get their timeline straightened out. And it's one of those things where it's going to beam back, I think just photos initially, but there might be some video later. Eduardo Gaming, is it 1080p 60? Yes, it'll do 1080p 60 or 4K 30. And we successfully tested all of that. Again, the problem that I see with it is that when it hits the end of its recorded file size, it doesn't roll over to a new file. So that's a problem there. And David Langley says, crazy is good. It is good. It's good to be crazy. All right. Well, I got to run, folks, because I've got a meeting in a half an hour. I've got to take the dog for a walk. And I've got my father's coming over. He's picking up Chinese food. I haven't had Chinese food in forever. And my wife and I were just talking, like, last night, even for lunch today, there's like nothing I want to eat in the house. So I'm like dying for good Chinese food. So my father's coming by with some Chinese food tonight. So we're going to have some Chinese food. And then he's going back to Florida tomorrow. So he's just dropping by real quick. Oh, I've not heard of this ballot initiative. Is that in Los Angeles? Send me some, or California, send me a link to it. I'd like to see more about that. We don't have ballot initiatives here in Connecticut. We can do a constitutional convention if enough people petition, but there's no ballot initiatives here in the state. So I'd like to see more about that. I may update my weekly wrap-up. I did a weekly wrap-up on this topic a while ago, but I might do more on it because I think there's a compromise here that could work. It just would require additional licensing, which the states don't want to do. That's part of the problem, by the way, for all this, is that the states don't want to license any of this stuff because they don't want to deal with paying for it. I think that's really what it comes down to. So in any event, I got to run. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of the feedback because I always get some really good feedback from you all while we're doing these things live, and it helps me in trying to figure out what people who watch the video might be looking for. So we will be playing with that for sure. So today we were looking at the ClearClick HD video capture box. And I do these streams on Amazon while I also do them on YouTube. So if you click on the link in the video description, it'll take you right over to my Amazon page. And you can give me a follow there. I think I'm at, how many followers am I at here? Let's take a look. I am at 2,072 followers. But I have 300,000 YouTube subscribers. So not all of you are following me on Amazon. So definitely give me a follow there if you don't mind. And good stuff. And thank you for the nice comments, Kevin and Peggy. Appreciate it. Yeah, we work hard down here. I try to be thorough because I have the time to be thorough, which I'm so grateful for. But I also know what people are looking for. So I don't want to just gloss over stuff. Like I think there's things that I look for and there's things that you all look for. So that's why I do these streams, because I know what I'm looking for, but you might be looking for something else. And we had some good comments there too. So good stuff. All right, I got to get out of here. I will talk to you all very soon. And thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.